Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, you're here at the right track. Let me explain. I heard this song a long time ago, back when I was a kid. And yeah, it's a boy band. What are you going to do about it? They're on the radio a few times. Like, you hear them every now and then. You know it's Blue. And the unique thing with Blue is they're really good at making melodies and rhythms. And on top of it, some really interesting lyrics. And this track was like the first blues song I ever heard. What's so fascinating about it is just everything it does well. It's got this interesting harmonica, I think, as a melody at the start. It's got a hip hop sort of beat and a disc scratch, I think, in between the transitions. Make for an interesting mix because it's obviously R&B. There's adding those as well. So it's sort of an element of hip hop, and you do get a hip hop bridge technically in between. Could be wrong about that. Yeah, but the acoustic guitar is great. It's also pitch shifted, I believe. Could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure most of their songs are. Yeah, you got such interesting lyrics in this, and I have to highlight them because this is basically a song about going through a breakup or finding evidence leading to it anyway. It says here, like on the genius.com site, evidence of seems to be significant other doing her man wrong. Although that's wrong, by the way. I'll explain later if I remember. That's not the right wording. Yeah, it's like really interesting. I just love how it's posed as like a sort of courtroom thing that's just being decided there. It's really clever. You know, unlike the Gotti song that came later where you get the other perspective, which is unique, and I do love the song for that. And this one is like, yeah, it's unique because it's in a setting. That's what makes it so good. How many songs even do that? I guess a lot of like metal can do that, technically, because it's like fantasy or medieval. It really depends on what it is, or historical even, I could say. But yeah, to have a setting like this, especially in R&B, it's like, holy crap. Admittedly, I haven't heard much R&B. Like blues probably the only one I've heard, but I don't really associate it with this sort of thing, and especially a boy band for things, like if you still call them that. You don't really associate them with making songs like this. It's just the amazing thing. It's like a very hard hitting and real song. Like, even if you don't like boy bands, this song will resonate with you. Admittedly, I've not been through this sort of thing myself, but I can pretty much empathise with anyone who has. And yeah, it's gotta be tough as well. So what's the other things to add? There isn't much of a variation later on. I guess like the vocals do get a bit more tense later. I think there's also sort of like weirdly enough, an imitation of the soon to be X, was it? Yeah, soon to be X, I'll say. Doing like the background. And come on, here we go. Yeah, literally, like, it's posed as an argument as well. That's clever. I didn't see them in the lyrics at first, but there they are. If you heard them. Is there anything else? Yeah, bridge rap, it's apparently called. So many interesting moments. Yeah, like I love the same, but here's the other thing I noticed about it that made me very fucking curious. Because that's why the wording in this is wrong, I believe. But it is open ended. This isn't about a boyfriend girlfriend. It could literally be about anyone. That's what's fucking insane about this. That's why I love this track. Like, even more. So, yeah, even though you've got the courtroom stuff, it also means that it works either way. This could resonate with a girlfriend who's discovered a boyfriend doing that, or boyfriend and boyfriend, or, you know, anyone. Any sort of couple relationship that there is. So, it's aged insanely well as a result. Like, when did this come out? 2001? It's 4 years old at that point. That's just crazy. Holy shit. Yeah. That's another thing going for, again, the boy band Blue. Yeah, I don't expect to be talking about them again, but it's something that I have plans to talk about and I want to get out of the way, admittedly. And I often feel a bit unsure about talking about boy bands because, yeah, sometimes there's that dodginess with, you know, some of them end up going with, you know, underage girls, but I don't think these guys have, from what I can tell. I don't see any evidence for that exactly. Which is good. I know some haven't been so lucky. Yeah, so that's that. Interesting track. Admittedly, it has got me considering listening to their entire discography, but I'm not entirely sure. Because it's not my sort of music. I like R&B by the sounds of it. I think Madonna even did some R&B, technically speaking. Was it hip hop? I think it was hip hop actually. Maybe I'm misremembering that. That wasn't. No, Snippet. No, I don't know. Probably not. More pop, but yeah. That's the song. I mean, let's move on. So maybe not a good start to God Past, but yeah, it has to be said. I've been watching some streamers play World of Warcraft Midnight expansion, and it has to be said. Just has to be said. That's it. Nothing else to say. It doesn't look good, I'll be honest. And this is just based on observation, not me playing it, to be fair. But that doesn't excuse the fact I can still pick out issues with it. This is the point. This is why watching videos can be a crucial element to deciding whether you should either get back into the game or play it to start with, or even just begin. But no, it's still a clusterfuck, and as far as I know, it still hasn't got nearly enough replayability, or even just like, I say replayability, I mean like legacy content, like Final Fantasy XIV has. You can still play everything that used to be as it was. But in World of Warcraft, it doesn't seem to be the case. While I don't really think it should always follow in the footsteps of, well, you know, it being a Final Fantasy XIV clone, it does need to take inspiration. That's sort of the thing I'm getting at here. There are reasons to have obvious changes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they added like a mount button, which is good. They have like mount movement now, which is one thing it has over Final Fantasy XIV, like quicker travel and stuff. But overall, it doesn't seem like it's really changed all that much. It just feels like the brother looks like more of the same. Just same expansion garbage, and I've heard complaints about like how they handle the characters, how they tackle them. I've seen so many streamers actually talk about this. It's weird actually, even though it's not directly playing it. I've heard Jesse Cox talking about it, about how he didn't like how they write the characters in the story, how they're sort of put into the books for no reason other than to buy the books or something. But there's like a load of garbage there that has to be sort of ironed out. And yeah, but the other streamer I heard from was Germa, of all people. Yeah, Germa 1985. I started watching him really recently. I never used to watch him. I watched him as a kid, I think, maybe when I was a young adult. Very good videos, TFT ones and stuff. And I think anyone could recognise Spee. Yeah, that famous one. But he had some opinions on it as well. World of Warcraft Midnight, and I think his response is literally just like, oh, well, it's just what is it? I forgot what he said now. It's gone out of my head. I guess he was like trying to allude that these games getting stale, which it is stale. And that's because it's releasing so many expansions, and then all these characters just get popped in and out of Thralls basically on what is it? Not on Lifeline, Speed Dial. Yeah, because Speed Dial is like the term. Which makes sense, and yeah, it sucks. It sucks ass. It has to be said. And I don't really know any other way of putting it, but my observations of it are more than that as well. It just seems like they're trying to do things that are basically not suitable for the game. They made it grindy by the looks of it, judging by this gameplay I've seen from Tips and even some sponsored. Weirdly enough, I've seen 2 sponsored. Steven Soptic, who sounded bored as fuck through the entire thing, so he started making his own story, and Kirsty and Rivian, who also seems sort of bored, and Kirsty had never played World of Warcraft before. These are all Twitch streamers, by the way. Yeah, it's the same thing again and again. And it looks like they haven't done anything to the gathering system by the looks of it, and it's still exploitable as fuck, so I don't know. That's not my problem here. I'm not the one sort of fucking paying for this shit. I'm playing a different game here, as you can see. It's one that I actually really like. Even though it's got its issues, it's still pretty solid overall. It's far more interesting than World of Warcraft ever was. That's saying something. It's kind of shocking to think about, but literally, it's better in every single way. Even the mounts are good. Like, they're really fucking good. I did see that there was a sort of void mount, which looks really cool. I don't know how Sip's got that. I don't know where it's from. But yeah, it doesn't look promising, and then we have to go into the obvious issue that caused all this to begin with anyway. Just the fact it's such an outdated engine is in its own way an atrocity. That's the crazy thing. I look at the gameplay and I think this just looks awkward. And that's because it is. It is objectively awkward. The graphics are not great at all. I can still see pixels on the fucking textures. I can still see where buildings don't have like good geometry. And that is really telling of the quality of it. And that should really go without saying, but that's true. But people need to have this pointed out because nobody realises it. And then the next thing is like the cutscenes I saw in that. Admittedly, the mount speed makes up for the bad quest sort of timing stuff. I've got to admit, the mount speed looks really good. More fun than any other game I played with a mount. Except for Roach. Roach was kind of entertaining. But I always liked the mount gameplay anyway in World of Warcraft. I liked how you could just fling yourself off it. That was always a fun thing to do. Sometimes fall off the edge of the map, but that's another thing. But yeah, I love that aspect of it. And it's good that they've improved it. But again, these other issues just make it worse. And it's the animations are bad. They're janky. I remember, oh god, it's this cutscene with Steven Soptic playing it. His character's weirdly enough blending in the background, but you had this really awkward moment of the facial rigging not being great. And yeah, this character trying to lunge towards another. It's just like so fucking awkward, it's terrible. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm pretty sure you can find animators in like Blender courses that are much better than this when they just started. It's fucking nuts. I can't believe that. You know, you've got the resources, you could even just make it hand animated or like just print animated sort of thing. It has ways to get around it. It's not impossible. And that's I think the biggest point to make here. You're making it so that the game is at detriment. Detriment? Yeah, let's go with that. So it's at detriment because of the fact that it's got lackluster animations. And you could easily fix it. Guess what? By actually having someone hand animate these things. Which is not only easy on resources, it's easy on textures, it's easy on file sizes. And you could just do paints. You don't have to do a full fucking MP4 video, which will increase the size a bit more maybe than in-game animations. But my god, don't animate combat or anything like that in the fucking game. It is terrible. And then there's another issue, because Sips pointed this out in his stream. Apparently there's a balancing issue again. This always happens every patch. There's like best classes to play and worst classes. And Sips was playing a Shadow Priest to start with. So he played that. And he was struggling with damage all the time. It was leading him to almost be on the brink of death each time he played. And he switched to Hunter, I think for an Alliance character if I'm not mistaken. And he ended up being fine. It's fucking nuts. Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah, the Hunter damage was better, it seems, by the looks of it. So yeah, that was weird. As we said, strange balancing issue. Especially given Shadow Priest is like a DPS. So you shouldn't be having that problem. And it looks like they did a sort of level squish again, because I saw the damage being much lower. I hadn't obviously followed it since like Dragonfly or Shadowlands technically. I've seen bits of Dragonfly. Sips was playing that a while ago on the ball with him as well. I've seen clips of that, unfortunately, from that one who shall not be named. The dickhead who doesn't want to apologise for anything. So yeah, you know, this is the problem. This is a multi-billion-dollar fucking company at this point, isn't it? Blizzard. And they can't even get this right. Which kind of sucks, it has to be said. It's such a waste of talent. It's a waste of resources. It sucks to see a game go that route, because that's the exact issue here. It just doesn't work. Seriously, you need to find a new fucking philosophy for this game, and a new engine for that matter. Even just a World of Warcraft 2. Or maybe just wrap it up. Make a story version, just a Warcraft 4 or something. There has to be something that can be done. And stopping the live service element as well, which is my personal complaint too. With there being so many expansions and so much content, you need to squish things in there as well. Because currently it lacks the legacy content. But it could do, it could do with squishing, as well as Final Fantasy XIV, admittedly. It does need a lot of squishing in terms of content. Like, for example, Realm Reborn, relic weapons and above, up to like End War currency, need to be a bit more generous in terms of farming it. It's currently a very big fucking task to do. Other things, I guess, certain content takes too long to do. Like Eureka is terrible at the moment, I'm not liking it. Just doing it for the relic weapon again, as you could tell, again, leniency. But yeah, there are so many fucking issues with that shit. So it doesn't warrant the amount of garbage that gets piled on it. Anyway, I'd better move on. I've got, well, this variant done need to finish. But seriously, it does literally make Final Fantasy XIV look really generous. And it's for good reason. I think it's deserved. Final Fantasy XIV deserves a lot of the praise it got, and admittedly before I didn't really understand what the point was. But it does matter. So that's why that's a thing, really. So yeah, I don't really know what to add, but I might as well end it here because it's gone on for a while, this part. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, so that's my fault, so let's move on. My PC has the weirdest fucking issues ever. I swear. It's always so niche and so bizarre. It's so hard to predict how it's going to go wrong. It's always been the case for some reason. For some reason I feel like my entire screen is moving. It's weird. I'm sure that's about. Yeah, I think this one doesn't really have a trigger much like the others. It just happens. It's so bizarre. I don't really get why it happens though, that's the thing. Because I think it's easy enough to figure out just one of the issues probably stems from another from before, so we'll look at this screen if I fancy. That's weird. There's like so many. Oh, it puts you back in the instance. Okay, that's really interesting. This is instance. Okay. That's good, I suppose, but not sure. But anyway, I've had these issues on and off. First, it's like the driver issue with AMD and my PC manufacturer, PC specialist, not actually putting the drivers on for the CPU for some reason, and then not adding a bunch of others, which really need to be there because that's how you get the system up and running. And it feels like it gets weirder and weirder every time I get an error on this PC, because I remember at one point, if I'm not mistaken anyway, it could be, I swear I had to reinstall Windows on my PC at some point, not long after getting the PC. I'm not sure what it was exactly, I just remember it not working from the built-in one from the storage itself. So I had to do it from a USB drive. I had to reformat my own fucking USB drive, speaking of which. I actually could do with a new one of them because I think I lost mine. Yeah. As I said, it's so strange to me how this even starts to happen. I don't know why it happened. It's crazy. The only warning sign I had back then, I think, was just the lights, and when I first turned on the PC it didn't work. It turns out it's the GPU not being plugged in properly because of, well, it not being installed properly, which is the only bad thing I can say about PC specialists so far. Also not being tested as well. So actually it's like three things. But they're not the worst things, they're not the most like unforgivable things, but you know, I'll be reserved for damage and improper use, you know, that sort of thing. But it's still bad. That's the thing that gets me about this. It's just, it's so bizarre to me. Not even sure what to say, what to add to it for that matter. Trying to think of the other warnings. I was playing Cyberpunk at one point. I remember this quite well because it was like the first time it happened, gave me a fucking heart attack. Nowadays it doesn't really bother me too much, in all honesty. I've got backups and that sort of works. But it happened during Cyberpunk. I was just AFK actually, and just suddenly decided no input, clear the game, but I couldn't do anything else. No display, no control over it either, which is weird because seemingly it's still working. And that happened, so yeah. Don't know. It's the best answer I have for that. And the other thing that happened, I think it was like a blue screen. I was watching, I believe it was, what was it? Squid Game, was it? Squid Game Season 1. It's just already going through a lot of anxiety and that didn't help, that fucking show. That certainly didn't add to the just the ease of things. So that happens, it blue screens. It's the first ever blue screen I ever had, and probably the last, I believe. Maybe after I fixed it, technically. Don't know what the issue was, but it kept happening on Netflix, weird enough, when I was watching it. And it kept doing that for some odd reason. No explainable reason for why, but it happened. Yeah. So that happens. What else? Later on, yes, and this happens much more into the future. Let's try and fix. Let's get distracted here. Still getting distracted. Okay, I remember now. It didn't happen for a long time, but then it happened not a few months ago actually, it's like just a year ago now, I think. Almost a year ago. And it decided to happen in Final Fantasy XIV. And it decided to do this new thing. It decided to shut off every single fucking input, show an orange light on my motherboard. I'm not sure what it means. To be honest, I can't be bothered to look it up. It doesn't really say much apparently. And I did look it up before. And yeah, nothing to worry about, it seems. So it's just not a non-issue at that point. But I managed to get back into the game, which is good, and had no issues after that. Yeah, so that happens. Trying to think. Don't think anything else happened in between, but only recently, since December, there's been an update to something. I'm not sure if it's the browsers or Windows itself, but it seems to fuck over everything and make it stuttery. And this is completely new. This never used to happen on the system, it never used to happen before. So it's obviously a Windows thing. But it seems to be a lag in the system in a way where it stutters, or like when I'm turning, it'll just do this like stuttery thing. It's hard to describe. It's like when it lags, but it's like showing you frame by frame for some reason, rather than it's like a complete stop. It just slows it down. That's what happens. And that started happening more and more recently. It happened before really badly when I had Mozilla installed originally. And then it started to happen again, just a few weeks ago after. Well, actually, part of it was Mozilla, but I did install Vivaldi browser eventually, and I think it's safe to determine now that the issue isn't the browser, which is good, I suppose. But it could also be something else, and I don't know what that is. It's, again, really hard to say. It's like, yeah, it's bizarre, but it literally doesn't feel like it is anything to do with the browser, or maybe even just gaming. I do think it's maybe a hardware issue. And I don't really like the idea that companies might start to normalise this as a thing. It's like, okay, you'll be happy with the slop that you want and eat it, essentially. But we don't want the slop, essentially. You know, it's like if I had to get a new PC because of this one stopping, failing, or whatever, I wouldn't be happy with it. Because that's just what you waste, and it's just garbage now, and that's not helping things at all. You know, I just want a system that runs. And I don't know why that's so hard. I've never had a proper PC system, and this one's as close as I've ever got. Even then, I had thought of getting consoles before just to have the experience of gaming without any hitches, essentially. Any sort of delays in the works, or whatever you call it. And I never went through it because consoles simply are inferior. It's not because I care about like the graphics, it's because I care about my gameplay. And I just hate the fact that if I were to get a console, I won't be able to use a mouse and keyboard, would I? Because consoles don't support that. If they did, I'd get one. But at the moment they don't. So that's a no-go for me. But even then, I've still got this issue where I need a computer system where I can just jump between the two and quite seamlessly at that, and be able to do things as I usually do. I'm not there. I can't fucking say I multitask stuff. Now I'm playing this game here whilst I'm sorting out the folders that decided to close themselves for some reason. Not sure why. Maybe that could have been the issue. I never really thought of it that way. Sometimes the issue could be just that. Just like the way the folders save themselves into the system, like the RAM stuff. Was it the CMOS battery? I can't remember whether they actually save it. This like memory stuff like that that's retained when it's shut down. It could be the CMOS battery, I have feeling. But could that mean that the battery is responsible for the crashes? Let's see how it would be. It's so hard to determine. It's difficult. Yeah, that's something. Again, just very frustrating crap. Not really any easy solution. And I think the worst thing for me is when a crash happens. It's not that it could take about a minute or two to launch, I don't mind that so much. It's the fact that I have to reset everything, I have to get everything back to the way I wanted it, and it's not saving itself. Some things do, some software does, but it doesn't always, and when you turn it off from the back, which I had to do this time, where screen's blanked, no input, no output, either, and there's obviously the orange light on the motherboard, and for some reason a white light on the GPU. I don't know why that's sound, I don't know what it's for. It just confuses me in the end. And what was I saying? Doesn't help. I don't remember what I was saying before that. Yeah, it's about things getting back to normal. That was it. It's still a big issue. Just trying to get along with this shit, and it's just fucking me over. I've still got hobbies to do, I've still got things to open, like Excel for example, which I have open a lot. It doesn't open the things I had previously. What the fuck is that about? There's a reason I had these things opened. And that's because I use them daily. Almost daily anyway. It's fucking ridiculous. So yeah, it doesn't really help at all. In that sense. And I believe it's changed something in Excel, right? Fuck's sake. Since I swear it's just say unsaved settings I had. Just that other thing about Microsoft Office. It just seems shit. In a lot of ways. So yeah, that's another thing. Just hate it doesn't save things. I got my injections I have to sort of track because that's what they're for. Like they're injections that need to be tracked that obviously require attention if they do and if there's any issues. For example, like for a few weeks and don't tell me it's going to auto recover. No, it's good. Finally. Behaving. Yeah, it's just got so many fucking niche issues. I'm so tired of this shit. Yeah. But that's why it's important, and I don't want these covered documents because they're not often correct. That's why I just get so pissed off at this shit. That's why it doesn't need everything that it has. Some things don't need to exist on it. That annoys me. So as I've remembered that on notepads, yeah, it has good. There's things I track on that, like stress, as I said. So yeah, things, yeah, to-do list. Yeah, that's about it. But I've seen now it hasn't remembered his fucking File Explorer stuff. So again, it's difficult. And by Audacity, for example, which I have open to track, basically things that I reference, and like music, I use it as like a template to an extent. Yeah, that's essentially what it's for. And because it closes that, I then have to go through and make sure it recovers the things that I need. And it won't always recover it. Yeah, it's been recovered, so I'll snapshot beamer, save it to preserve its contents, great. I don't want to save it though. Okay, this time it's saved and it's weird. I kept it wrong. Some of them, not all of them. Half a blank, half a there, which is weird. Very strange. I've also got one open because I need to edit Final Fantasy soundtracks because for some reason people keep uploading them with more than 2 loops, which is dumb. Yeah, I just want 2 loops of the track, that's it, that's more than enough. For some reason they go over that. They go to 3 or even 4 loops at most. I don't really understand it, it's a bit stupid in my opinion. I get the music's good, but it's not good enough that I'd consider listening to it on loop like that. Yeah, it's just a lot. Anyway, I better move on. Fuck, I'm tired of this shit, in all honesty. Also, I gotta check the volume of my mic, because it seems a bit incorrect at this point. Using normal voice, it's not even peaking, which it usually does. Anyway, let's go. Well, it happened. I sort of predicted it anyway. Highguard is shutting down permanently this month. Admittedly, I haven't seen the full story, but it sounds like it was going to happen anyway. To be honest, it didn't seem like the sort of game that people are going to drop Overwatch or Psych 4 and then, you know, just, yeah, get into it, essentially. Yeah, I failed to see the justification to actually pick the game up. So, yeah, that's doing stuff, I suppose. I'm not even really sure what to add. Like, there isn't really much to add to this topic because it's so fucking blatantly obvious, and to the people who believed in this game, like, I just have to say, what the fuck are you doing? Genuinely, I don't know what you see in this game, and I've failed to see any good points about it. Again, I haven't played it, but it just doesn't ring to me like it's a good game. You know, if I was to pick a game to play, it would be probably Overwatch. But even then, I'm still not exactly on board with it. I don't like live services because there's too many, and I just want to focus on one at a time, rather than one being my essentially lifeline, a bit like Final Fantasy is. Finding ways to sort of reduce that time, like put 2 hours in a day. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, really. It just sucks that this is a state of the gaming world where a game could just shut down within months of it being released. But I'm not surprised. Again, we saw this shit coming from miles away, and I just don't get what the big fucking idea is with just this entire crap with live service games. And given that Sony have cancelled so many of them, I just had to ask, like, why? What the fuck are you even doing? What do you even think? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, I'm not in shock, but just people's reaction to it. Why the hell do you care about this so much? It's so pointless. At this point, the only games we should be sad about having shut down are genuinely good single player games, like games or even just live services that are good. Like Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic is fucking incredible. But there's not a single game out there like that as far as I know. And even then, Final Fantasy XIV has its own problems. It won't surprise me if players stop falling off because there's too much grindiness to it. Yeah, that's kind of to be expected anyway. That's what happens when you make a game that's live servicey as fuck. You can expect people to just unalive servicey. No, that's not the right term. Just get bored of it quickly. Don't fucking surprise me, in all honesty. Yeah, I just see this coming every time. So yeah. Not really sure what to add, but that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah, I might as well move on. I've got stuff to do. But that's pretty much the topic, so yeah. You know what, chat? This might be a fine grind. I'm surprised with Eureka. Over time it just improved for me. And it still has a lot of issues, mainly that there is a lot to fucking figure out with getting out the fucking game to begin with, like getting leveled up, learning the challenge log, learning about the Eureka tracker and various enemies and stuff. There's so much niche shit to it to learn that it does feel overwhelming. And it just feels very annoying. And my first impressions of it were horrible. I didn't think this was a pleasant thing at all. And compared to Occult Crescent, well enough I preferred Occult Crescent. But as I've played it more and more, and finally today getting into a group for the first time, it's actually really fucking good. I'm surprised. Yeah, it's grindy. It's part 1 of the stage, bear in mind, so not part 2 or 3 or 4, because that could change. But it seems somewhat decent. For getting your first relic weapon, it's not bad, and I'll explain. The thing that's changed since the last time I've used this, essentially, played it rather, simply to do with, something. No, it's to do with grouping. And this is something I was on the fence about just off the get-go, because the issue with, grouping is it didn't seem viable as a concept. And that meant that your groups essentially would vary and there'd be so much discrepancy between them. Like, for example, going to fucking level 5 here somehow. This guy was level 20. I don't know what's happened there. We have this group discrepancy that I don't know what you call it, if it's discrepancy or not, but so different. And that meant that it probably led to issues in terms of getting things done in the game, in terms of content. And it just wasn't viable. But I tried it, and you know what? It's a game changer. It's fucking insane. So much like Occult Crescent seems to inspire you to group up, this game is happy enough to let you group, and also, even if you're AFK, you get free protein crystals from their chains. If they are chaining it, that is. That's if. But holy shit, the amount of protein crystals you get from this is insane. But not only that, with the tracker you can spawn fakes. And then you could do that to get the Anemos crystals and Anemos slot boxes, although these are pretty much useless slot boxes of scam, you only get one mount from it. So I honestly recommend avoiding it. It's not worth it in my opinion to farm for that. Unbox it by all means, but a lot of the stuff is just useless, it's not valuable. Even then, material itself would be more valuable, but it's not great. So it's just lacking in that sense. And I wish there was a way to trade in like Anemos boxes for something else. So I could look up as box FFXIV. I've already looked, that's good. No, you can't exchange it, so that sucks. But as far as I know, you can't even exchange the contents. So it means that you have this issue where it's just like, oh, okay, great, thanks game, thanks for that. Because there's not really a reward at the end with this shit. At most you get red mage barding in the mount, but there's nothing else. Furniture's not graded, I don't think. Can't even sell it, that's the other thing. You sell the Anemos glamour, but it's glamour. I don't think it's actually for anything, if I'm not mistaken, unless you could trade it in. Does it seem to suggest that? But my god, it is a fucking disaster and half. But the Anemos crystals offer you quite a lot, especially if you hand in 50 at a time, where you can get up to 250 fucking protein crystals, which is like 5 times the amount of that, obviously, if you can't math. And that's just insane. To be honest, it is crazy. Crazy value, crazy good. Yeah, it's like one of those things. Just like, what the fuck? Yeah, but where do I even start with this? So when I got to handing in the relic weapon, I was a bit on the fence, off the shore, because it didn't seem like a good idea to lock, well, on the relic steps behind a fucking fate, which is Pazuzu feathers, for anyone wondering what it is. A Pazuzu spawns by killing these, as you can see it here, with pre-farming it rather. Spawned by shadow wraiths, but you might be wondering, why did I call it a good, essentially, stage? Yeah, I'll explain that. It turns out you can trade protein crystals for the feathers, so you don't have to rely solely on this shit. And even then, there's like spawn chance with this, so it's crazy. And I also discovered earlier spawning, you can view the adventure list for everyone in the lobby, which is interesting. So it really helps with. Oh, rip. Yeah. What's happened? For some reason we disbanded and we're grouping. Okay, there we go. It's a bit weird out there. Yeah. But yeah, it turns out when you hand in the feathers, it's like you seem to unlock something, if I'm not mistaken, where you trade in a certain amount of these protein crystals to get essentially a what is it? Fuck, I'm an idiot. To get the feathers themselves. Like there's a vendor called the Birdwatcher, I believe, and you literally get fucking 3 feathers. You get 1 feather per 300 protein crystals, which is just nuts. I'll be honest, it's great. I love it. But holy shit, they actually thought about this. Is my reaction to that. So you actually gave it some thought for once. I think I'm gonna die here. Can't move. Get petrified again. There's a fucking problem here. It's like walled as hell. Yeah. It's just very strange. For God's sake. Probably heals for not fucking cleansing me. Strange stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I like it now. It's weird, but I've ended up liking the grind, which is generally good. So it's interesting. It's just one of those things where Fucking hell. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that though, it seems. It is better now that I know that. Yeah, I don't really know what to add, but that's sort of what's going on here. Yeah, so I'll move on in a sec. I'm gonna get a fucking chance to breathe. Fucking insanity here. It's a problem when there's not enough players. Where is everyone anyway? That's what I'm wondering. But that's the only problem with Fates here. I still think that's an issue. You need groups to do it because you can't do this on your own. It's fucking impossible. There's literally no way you can do that shit. Because there's so many things to follow on the tracker. You literally need players, otherwise it's just not doable. And I think they should merge data centers for this very fact. I don't think it's really a bad idea on that point, but fucking hell. Anyway, let's move on for him. To anybody living in the UK, has anyone else felt like winter hasn't been winter? I swear only a handful of times has it been extra cold. We didn't get it at the start of winter, or even just during that transition phase where obviously the axis of the Earth just goes way off course, and basically it leads us to that extreme, which ironically leads us to another extreme in a few months' time. But it didn't feel as cold as it used to be. At most, I think I saw -2 around where I live, maybe even -3. But that's the lowest it went. I almost said highest. But even more concerning is the average, by what I noticed, seemed to be about between 5 and 6 degrees on the coldest days, which isn't very cold, if I'm being honest. And given that I've walked out in this type of coldness as well, just taking walks, and it feels kind of meh. I only wear like a hoodie because I don't really get cold exactly. It's weird, but when I'm exercising I get warm, so hoodie is a good middle ground for me. And I'm sort of aware that sweat will basically make me colder, especially if it's colder out there anyway, because sweat is sort of a moisture thing, and so that would add to any coldness there would be. But I mainly wanted to talk about how just boring and how disappointing winter is becoming now. Because it's usually Christmas time around December, and it's fun in its own way, but in other ways I just wish it was a holiday that disappeared as well. I sound like a Grinch, but in all honesty it's just another capitalist holiday. It's just another excuse to overspend, overproduce, and it's not helping the planet in the slightest. So that's why I see it essentially disappearing at some point. But the other thing with that is the only thing that helped make it Christmassy was just snow. And you probably could guess that's going towards that. And whilst a lot of people don't like snow, and I do get that to an extent, snow was often very interesting and very fun. As a kid, my house would get fucking freezing going in the snow. Just not going in the snow, throwing snowballs, which it was an interesting experience. I did wear gloves every now and then, not all the time, but did. And oftentimes we'd have to help scrape our parents' car off because, it's easier for a kid to do that, I think. And also help out, get to school quicker and shit. It's just, there's a lot you can do to help out there. But we'd have like specific de-icers and stuff, and then for some fucking crazy reason, my dad would boil a kettle I pour the fucking hot water all along the fucking windscreen, which is just insane. I don't understand the logic, but it works. I have to give credit where it's due. But I don't understand that. It's just so weird. I don't know if that's even healthy for the vehicle, is it? I could be wrong on that. But holy shit. Yeah, literally, it's surprising to me that literally that happens. But on snow days, it was often quite enjoyable because I remember waking up hoping to see here, because we used to listen to the radio to know about our school closing for the day because it's too cold. We'd hear it from the radio, and it'd be like a local radio station every now and then after, like, I think it's usually in the mornings only, but they list the schools that have closed down around the area, which is interesting. Yeah, that's something that we used to do. And enough, it's like, okay, we've got a day off, because I can't wait to play whatever it is I'm playing at the time. But it's just better to be, inside or just with family. That's all. In my case, just playing games. As I wanted to do at home, so that's why it was often an exciting aspect. But nowadays, you don't really get that. In fact, it's impossible. At most, I think, at least from what I've heard from other people, at most there's like the heating has stopped working and they have to, for some reason, send kids home because, yeah, like, heating isn't working. What do you expect? So they have to do something about that, obviously. That's only one case where the school closes down. But that's it, though, isn't it? Like, there's nothing else that really does it. Heat waves, I guess, can be too extreme to even make that thing. It really varies. That's really where we're going with that. Yeah, school closure is often a fun thing. No more work. You miss a bit of education, but because of how boring school is, I don't blame people for wanting to be at home. Yeah, because phones were just beginning when I was in school, we often just look forward to playing our games consoles, or maybe even just doing a bit of homework, as we sometimes got anyway, and then going to, game consoles, just staying warm inside as well, and also cool in summer. Again, that's like rare. Not sure what else to add, but that is probably the thing I most miss about winter. Just fucking strong cold and being able to warm up in that as well. So, I talked about it briefly here even. One of my fucking, I don't know what you call it. It's like the opposite of a pet peeve. It's like one of the most comforting things. It's actually being cold in a room and then getting under the duvet covers. And that's one of the best feelings because it's so soft and comfortable. And I don't know if it's like a sensory thing, I'm pretty sure it is. Or like a stimming thing, but the duvet covers always comfort me. Even in temperatures that aren't even severely cold. When my room goes to like 21 or 20 degrees, that's a sign I need to get under there. 22 is sort of bordering, kind of, maybe not. But above that, it's like, no, I'll just go over the sheets, and 25 is probably the threshold for sheets, so, in my experience. If it goes above that, no sheets. And in summer, weirdly enough, I started doing this only since summer, really, but I started to remove my duvet from the bed. Which you might be thinking, why the fuck are you doing that? Because it's too warm. Because on the opposite end, whilst we have warm winters, we also just have extremely fucking hot summers, so what's the point? Genuinely, what is the point in having a duvet cover to begin with when this already fucks us over quite badly anyway? Yeah, just that's the thing. I don't really know what to add. It's disappointing to an extent. I just wish things were more normalised in that sense. It's cold winters and reasonably warm summers. I say reasonably because anything above 27 at this point is like too hot. In my experience anyway, and anything above 24 degrees in my experience as well, it's too warm to go outside. Just fucking torture. Yeah, there's a lot of things there that made me realise, it's not worth it usually. These things just seem to like backfire in a way. This is what I mean with an earlier topic about AI, about what I warned people about, and even like, what was the topic actually? Something I forgot. Hmm, I don't know, for some reason it's not there. I thought I had something, but maybe I don't. I swear I was talking about something regarding the state of the world and how people not listening is what's going to destroy us. And yeah, but I think, is that the same with this? Something I forgot this topic now. It's fucking weird. Oh god, I need to backtrack. Yes, no, that was it. Yeah, backtracking is actually one of the most effective tips I can give for remembering something. It's worked a lot of the time. When I've remembered it, it's worked about 99% of the time. But backtracking is. I remember what I backtracked on, but there are occasions where I can't remember what I was originally like going towards, or where I started, or even where I finished. So I look for both really. Let's see, most effective tip there. Anyway, I just wish people would listen as well. Climate change is real, and it is fucking changing the atmosphere. It's changing a lot of things, and we obviously don't need it. It's fucking annoying. This is why you make lifestyle changes. So we don't have to put up with shit. We can have snow days, we can have days off. So many different reasons for that. We just need to tackle climate change. And you never know as well. It could also be the opposite of the fact, so you could get cold summers and even colder winters, which would be ideal in my opinion. But it's kind of like, yeah, whether people will fucking do that, change their habits, it's just another question entirely. It's such a stupid thing to rely on, in all honesty. This is something I've often thought about as well. Why the hell are we letting people decide this shit for themselves? I don't like forcing things on anyone. I think it's wrong. But in this scenario, at some point, something's got to give. And you have to do the right thing by doing the wrong thing, essentially. That's unfortunate, but that's the reality. I don't know how true that is exactly. From what I've thought on it, it's like one of the sad realities. It literally forces shit so it can survive. Fucking getting tired. So my voice is going weird. Getting late. Yeah, so I might as well move on to this topic. But that's that. I miss winter. I miss a lot of things about it. I don't really know why this needs to be said, but people don't actually think on their own, and it's crazy. Yeah, the topic I'm thinking about is in regards to, well, just the hatred towards something like LGBTQ plus, or even newer ideas like like relationships where it doesn't follow the norm for some fucking reason. My housemate is doing weird things outside. I don't know what the fuck that is about. I thought I was past that with the last house with him, but no, you've got another one. Moderators delete him. Anyway, yeah, there's a fucking issue with how people do this and why, essentially. And it's obviously like a fucking bias and agenda as well, probably. There's so much stupidity around this, around the nature of how people sexualize these things, and it's weird. And I was thinking about this because of hearing the term throuple again, which I haven't heard in a while, not at least since I've been making fucking I'm gonna have to close my fucking clothes. This is stupid. Those blinds. Fucking weirdo. This is waving to kids next door. I don't know why the fuck you do that. The bastards. No. Where was I? So yeah, like the thing I'm thinking of is the way that people sexualize these things is honestly proof that they themselves are projecting. So when we're talking about this sort of stuff where they accuse LGBTQ plus of sexualizing children, which is not inherently true at all. And we look at the proof here, the evidence, and what it's about, and it's not. Someone dressing up in drag doesn't sexualize anyone. It's not sexualizing anything, even. Most, I guess you can imply the stuffing your bra with tennis balls or something with your use is a form of sexualizing, but even then, do children even understand what that is? It's often my question. I don't know, when I was a kid, I didn't fucking bat an eye for breasts until at least I looked at porn. And that was that. It's only when I realised that actually, yeah, I'm growing up and hitting puberty, and I started to have literal thoughts about women. That's the only point at which it's sexualising, but you can't control that, because everyone has breasts. Are you fucking kidding me? Even men do. This is a crazy thing. I even have them, even now. So you're going to accuse me of sexualising children because I have man boobs? It's so fucking ridiculous. And yet, they probably won't even apply that standard to someone like me, because for some reason, me being a cisgender male is not an issue. But when someone transitions, it is. It's like, okay, fucking double standard. But what really pisses me off as well is when they just tie these things to something that's innocent, like a romantic relationship. And romantic doesn't mean sexual. Literally, it just means a bond between two people. And what comes with it is obviously optional, but whether people accept that premise or not is up to them. It's their downfall, essentially, and that's why it's pissing me off so much. I just hear way too much of this garbage. That people just seem to fucking apply this stuff to anything. The weird thing is, love in itself is just a sexual premise anyway. That's what it does. And you see it even in shows where it's family friendly or it's for children, where there's like a romantic interest somewhere. And that's portrayed as a physical attraction, at least in most cases I've seen. And then how is that not? Well, you know what? It doesn't make sense. And yet nobody's applying that standard to it. So I'm just completely fucking baffled by it. It's like there's no thought in this. Just so that someone pulled out the rofs and said, you know what, this is what we're going to run with today. Just fucking didn't bother with anything else. It's just so stupid. And then talking about things like thrupples, which inherently again, it's not sexual. I tackled this in one of the things I wrote, the Tales of Tales thing. Initially, it's going to have a sort of dark story, but eventually, I moved towards something a bit more tame and a bit more down to earth, I suppose. And it had a pretty emotional story, but the point was that I wrote a character where there were two people you could fall in love with, and they were obviously quite young. And it started out as physical attraction, but then it just moved on to emotional attraction, and that's how that works. But the problem is there's two potential partners. So I remember thinking of a thought of her about anyway, about how we would tackle having two romantic interests at once, and the solution I had literally in exploring it was just have both. There's actually nothing wrong with it as long as the other two are okay with it, and it genuinely is fine. And then the other two can become friends as well, even if they're not attracted to each other. And that allows them to further better their own friendships and relationships, for that matter. There's not really anything awkward, and then eventually I wrote it that at least when they're growing up, they can actually share a bed. Again, it's not even like sexual, that's the thing. It's all romantic. And then you have to ask, like, what do people think romance is in the end? It's just an expression of love. And that's what the point of this is. So when there's like a young couple here, like a throuple, not a couple, but literally it's just all expressions of love. It's not, again, inherently sexual. And it's such a progressive concept as well, because in this day and age, there's way too much pain and suffering just through the pursuit of love, and one of the worst things we can do for everyone is literally single people out, or even just deny them the right to a relationship because someone else is like so-called better. But honestly, tackling multiple at once is a bad idea. The only complication is, I guess, sharing and stuff, but that's to be sort of ironed out. And if you're dedicated enough, you could do that. And as long as you respect the other person as well, it should work out. But I don't know. It's really something I've not really thought too much on. In general, I think the idea is pretty good. I don't know why people associate these things with something bad, other than projection. That's the only thing I can really correlate it to. But that's why it requires a response. Like a response with a proper answer, a proper solution. Because you can't have it that it's basically everything is just sexual just because it's new, because it's progressive. That's not how the world works. Like what else can be new that's sexual? I don't even fucking know. It's actually nuts. But that just shows how dirty-minded people are, or how fucked up in the head they are, rather, in this case. Because it's not even really related to anything. It's just that people associate with that. Well, at a certain point, you could even say that people who watch Bluey are sexualizing animals. But Bluey itself isn't an inherently sexual show. Again, it's fucking family friendly. And yes, it has probably progressive ideas. I haven't seen it myself. I don't know to doing it if they actually do a proper coverage of like a gay couple. But I'm not really that interested other than that. I've heard it has good representation. Yeah. And it's like what people associate with it. And it's just fucking ridiculous. I seriously struggle to understand what the point of all that is. It's also a waste of time and effort. Imagine how many of these accusations get passed to the police and then it just gets out of hand and gets investigated. Oh, we wasted resources in this instead of investigating the fucking serial killer that's killing multiple kids. Not great. Good job, humanity. You've really got your priorities straight. It's just fucking ridiculous. So, one of the more interesting aspects of Final Fantasy XIV is it is literally more social, as people say. But it's not just a thing that we're saying, that's the thing. Is enough. Then sort of goes full circle. It literally is true. And you don't really recognise it at first because it's kind of like how other things work. I got thinking about this with regards to finding a party seeker option instances, which if you can see party seeker on at the moment, I can turn it off if I want to. There's nobody in here, so just farming cane myself, or the enemy that spawns from farming these, but assuming this works, it will put you in a party, which is interesting. And what I find really interesting about Final Fantasy XIV over other games is just the fact that it actually has a more social setting. And I don't think this is necessarily by accident. I just think it inspires you to do that. And that's what's so fascinating about this, in all honesty. It's the fact that the game is good enough, and I say good enough because there are bad things about it, some really bad, but it's good enough that players are generally okay with it. Like, they're not against the idea of, well, socialising. And it's sort of a stark contrast to something like World of Warcraft, where we did have that issue where players just were there to do player things, and there's nothing really in between. There's no sort of social aspect to it, and someone would argue that's shit, but I'd say it's sort of necessary for sake of sanity, because not many people really wanted the social aspect in that game. It was so antisocial because the game mechanics themselves were very anti-fun, and just essentially they hated you for playing it, and that's the thing that's really bad with it, because you literally cannot get anywhere in that game. Spawned. Yeah, it's quite bad really, looking back at it, because I remember so many scenarios where people were just toxic as fuck about everything in this, and I don't really understand what the deal was with that. But yeah, it sucked in that aspect for sure. Should go without saying. It just makes you wonder, really. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to add, but I suppose what specifically about World of Warcraft's bad? I remember dungeons just being grindy and terrible in general, so they just weren't helpful for you. Generally led to issues, and that's sort of the issue there. It created so many different problems for you that it's just impossible to tackle them all. You always had these problems. The mount farming, the grinding of anything. I remember like doing the fucking Neverdrake farm, which was hellish in its own way for obvious reasons. And that was just not great because the thing with the Neverdrakes was people were farming that day in and day out, because even though it's a daily quest, some players like myself unfortunately stuck to it and decided, you know what, let's fucking farm the eggs that spawn from that. And yeah, it got incredibly frustrating to farm that I was just tired of that shit, really. Which I think goes to show again, it's not very optimal. And it just became a competition. It's like, fucking hell. No wonder players in this game are toxic. That's why. Just players do not want to deal with that shit. They do not want to deal with competition in a game that's live service, even for starters, which is already a bad idea. This is why you see a lot of toxic live services anyway, like League of Legends, etc. Don't need to even list anymore. You know what I'm talking about. That's why. That's what fucking happens. I don't know if I created that, but I'm pretty sure I am. I've seen this pattern before, I've seen this behaviour all the time. Every time I played games like this. It just seems so common amongst them. That's why that happens. So, I'm not really sure what to add there, but as for Final Fantasy XIV, so when a game treats you with respect and content as well, it's also still relevant. Even this I'm playing, it's somewhat well designed. I changed my mind on it recently, even though I had a bad start of it. You know, there's so many different aspects here to consider. There's not always a simple option. Sometimes it's just doing research and figuring everything out before you actually judge it. Which is unfortunate because that shouldn't be how it works, but you know, that's something you have to do. It's quite niche as well, this content anyway. Yeah, no sure what to add, but that's sort of where I'm at with this anyway. So what is there to talk about with Final Fantasy anyway? It's just more generous in terms of other things. Like doing this content, you get multiple things for it. You can get these crystals, which you can then transform into protein crystals, and you can transform protein crystals into these feathers, which actually drop from a fate as well. Which spawns over here if you farm it enough. It's very difficult. Don't recommend. It's much easier to do these, in all honesty. It's sort of the direction that it has and what it takes, really. But that's the point. When you have these avenues, it makes it easier to do it, makes it more accessible. And that's also the other thing. That's why I criticise the savage content in this game so hard, and even extreme content. It's because it's designed difficult, and then players who have conflicting interests, and maybe new, bring down a party because guess what? There's no way to fucking earn these rewards without taking that dive. Which is a shame because there could be genuinely good content there. And then the people who want to play it for difficulty suddenly no longer have the ability to play it because, well, it's been taken over by mount farmers or whatever at this point. It really varies. It's not a simple solution at all. So yeah, I think that's generally what happens and why it happens, so that's not again an easy topic, but that's the answer. There's a difference between the two, and when players are happier, they're probably going to treat you nicer. Just goes without saying, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah. Not sure what's that. That's pretty much the gist of it anyway. Just content really. Not really much to it. Anyway, I think I better move on. I've got so much stuff to do. Just wanted to talk about this and yap about it, really. I feel like it's somewhat important. Especially as a former World of Warcraft player, I want to explain the difference. And it's even like little things, like I never used to introduce myself in World of Warcraft, but here it's been like, okay, sure, and then I can help players as well. That's the other thing, even though you had like a world chat in World of Warcraft, he rarely ever found help. So every time he asked to play, it was like, fuck off noob or something, or just some racial slur or whatever. It really depends on context as well, I was pretty sure of that. But that's the difference here. In this game, you don't really get worst you get RMT in the main city or whatever. But it's not that bad. You get fun interactions. Even myself, who again is like socially anxious and not even interested in interacting with other players, I get fucking pulled into it. And I get immersed as well. I've had so many interactions over my time in this game. It's actually crazy. I remember in Foundation I was being sold thick weed for some reason. Because that's a thing in the game. Well, not a thing, but it's like an equivalent of it. Just kind of funny. But it's like a roleplay interaction. It's amazing. And because of the amount of emotes that you have in this game, it just adds to that. It adds to that immersion. It's kind of insane to really think about. You don't really have interactions like that in World of Warcraft. If anything, you'd probably get banned for it. Here it's like, okay, you can do what you want. How's your sort of agreeing on it? It's just fascinating. Also, I don't really know any other game like that. I've come from games like Overwatch and TF2 where there's a toxicity in them, but unavoidable because of the nature of the game. It really varies. Yeah, I don't really know what to add here, but that's what makes it great. It's still a game that I recommend. Well, Final Fantasy XIV, there are caveats to that recommendation. It's like, if you don't like something that grindy, then I don't know. It really depends. You have to look at sort of the playtime it takes to get something. Look, for example, at the Sugar Glide amount. I could look it up actually, got it pinned. I did, there is, yeah. Tiaita. I can't say that. I butchered the name, but this took about 10 days of farming almost non-stop, with about 4 to 6 hours per day doing it. So it's about, it averages about 50 hours, which is kind of bad for a grind, but at the same time, it's doable. I think you need to have a hobby in between as well to sort of focus on. You can sort of semi-AFK the content as well, which is nice, but I don't know if there's like any sort of etiquette on that sort of thing. I don't know whether players are like, yeah, shouldn't do that. But that's the problem. This brings up the problem of like why the game is so good but also has bad sides. And this is one of the bad sides. It's so mind-numbingly boring, much like this is so far. Nobody just wants to do it really. It's a job that nobody wants to do. Wait, I'm not even following the right one, am I? Oh yeah. Yeah. Not sure what to add here, but yeah, that's sort of the gist of it. This is the nature of the game and just sort of things you encounter. So yeah. I think I might move on because again I've got stuff to do. Just stop farming these one by one, fuck it. Until something spawns, because I ain't got time for that. I'm just going to AFK, it's sort of my tactic, I guess. And there's no point in doing this properly. Because it's again mind-numbingly boring. That's a term. So it's not any point. Yeah, as I said, issues, but you can pretty much expect that. Anyway. That's it, so let's move on. Just finished Demon Slayer Mugen Train arc. The 7 episodes, not the movie, just to be clear. Decided to skip that because I don't think it's really relevant. According to this Reddit post anyway, it says it's basically a short version and you miss some extra scenes. And Mugen Train arc, and yeah. Obviously this was peak for Demon Slayer. not necessarily peak anime, but it is pretty damn good. I'm impressed. I wasn't expecting much, and I've got a full course meal. Like, that is honestly worthy of a commendation. It's actually kind of crazy. But I suppose the interesting thing with this is I didn't have high expectations going into it. I knew that this arc would be something. Didn't expect it to be this good though. It's got so many things going for the story, the characters as well, mainly, and Goku and the demons as well, who are very interesting this time around. Some interesting like flipping around and bits and pieces like that. I'm just surprisingly impressed with just what was going on here. It felt like a fully fleshed out story, and the animation as well was pretty impressive in areas. I would say the music isn't necessarily something noteworthy. I only really highlight music that's like melodic more than anything else, so I never really pay attention to the music unless it's that melodic. It reminds me of when I watched Fate Stay Night, the first one. It had some really great music, but the anime itself was fucking terrible. At least in areas it was. So yeah, that was interesting. I do think there's room for improvement still in terms of the series. I do find it quite good. The animation, as I said, was getting better. There's a mix of 3D and 2D, and there's also some really impressive moments with that. It was really getting good. Trying else to say that the voice acting is good as well. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's improving, it's about the same, but there are some moments there which are great. And yeah, I think the story itself is quite interesting in a way, because you don't really have many sort of arcs that take place on a fucking train or things. Even though it itself is, it's not really an interesting idea, but it somehow managed it. But I think that's because it takes place in, well, something else. I won't spoil it, but yeah, it takes place there, let's say. You'll see what I mean by that. It certainly added an interesting aspect, and I fucking love the battle in this. The battles. If I was to do like a top 10 anime battles, I think this would be up there. It's similar to something in Bleach, like I forgot his name, that weird fucking professor, but when they went to this underworld place to fight off these guys, this like professor guy or doctor, whoever, just fucking makes this guy suffer and die over the course of 1,000 years, which is just insane. But it's not on that level, but it is pretty damn close. It's actually something pretty interesting about it. It just fascinates me. I don't think I've ever seen a battle quite like that. It's interesting because of what, well, the characters have to do in this battle. There's some interesting moments as well, funny moments too, for sure. When Goku is quite an interesting character. Yeah, certainly pretty good, pretty small and powerful character too. What else is it's an interesting twist with essentially the humans doing the dirty work. Well, I sort of spoiled it, but there's some anyway, you don't know who they are yet. So that's probably the most important thing. Yeah, it's like they're coerced into it. What else is there to mention? I think that's about it. Yeah, it's just another good arc, I suppose. I won't say it's amazing, but it's definitely pretty good. It's certainly not one I'd skip. I think it's important to the story to an extent. Also, it's just interesting the interaction at the end. I thought that was fascinating because we haven't really seen anything like that before. And you know, given it's like not necessarily the first time that encounter has happened, but it's unique. We haven't seen something like that. I won't spoil what it is, but I can either see more of that depth. And also the ending is sort of emotional, sort of not kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say, but I've got to move on. Do some other things. So yeah. Boy, I like a story to tell you about Final Fantasy XIV Eureka Pagos. So yeah, I finished Anemos. I got 3 relic weapons in the end. One of them I'm not gonna upgrade. But it's easy enough of a grind. What the fuck? Fuck is that noise? No, one of them's easy enough to grind. And it wasn't too bad. I just didn't mind it. But Pagos was a clusterfuck. Even to start with, finding a way to level up was an issue. So that didn't help, as you could expect. It seems like there's like issues with like not being able to upgrade your elements, which sucks. I should just realise I need to respec them because there's no point in having them as they are, not doing enough damage. Yeah, it sucks and it means I'm more vulnerable, but what am I going to do? There isn't really anything I can do with that. And it's about more of the same, but this time the gimmick is instead of farming protein crystals, you're farming Anemos crystals if you do need them at the end. You can buy the boss material that spawns at the end. Not here yet. But you fill the kettle and then add that in to make frosted protein crystals. What the fuck? That's my only response. Like, this is shite. It's just bad. I honestly can't believe that. It's such a bad idea. And it's not very enjoyable. It just has to be said. I just fail to see how it even is enjoyable for that matter. Because one of the big struggles for me with grinding anyway is just the fact that it doesn't yield much. When grinding it feels like more sort of, what is it, fucking like solidified, it isn't set in stone, it's probably the term I mean. But it's not, and that's an issue. And then in Pagos you got an interesting gimmick with void dragons which block the path. You need to sneak by using the walk function, which is interesting. But there are so many enemies of high level scoured here, worse than Anemos ever was, which I fucking hate. I hate that system. It doesn't work. It's never been a good system. It's not as bad as like Cold Crescent, that's the weird thing. Wait, it is bad. It is worse than the Cold Crescent, I mean. The words mixed up. Right now I'm going to farm a Fate, but the weird thing with Fates here, it's a weird thing, also I'm not doing any damage, that's not good. Yeah, with the Fates here, enemies seem to be really fucking tanky. I don't know why that is, but that seems ridiculous to me. Because that to me, it's because I'm not element lines. No, that's fine. They seem real tanky, like absurdly amounts of tanky. Which is very strange. I don't really understand that, to be honest. Just feels like it shouldn't be a thing to have fakes as tanky, which is a stark contrast to something like Anemos, where you would otherwise just be able to farm it solo. But here you can't. And so solo playing is like impossible. Which it wasn't on Anemos unless you were doing say like the boss fight, which you still have to do here anyway. Have its own problems. But yeah, I'm not happy with that at all. It sucks. Also, still no in-game tracker, which again sucks. So I can't actually track what has been killed and what hasn't. As far as I know, it's still going to be an issue. And I think I need to respec again because I'm taking too much damage. Again, another annoying thing is the balancing isn't very good, even though I've got gear, best in slot, like gear and soda striking. The locations for the things for cryo are not good still. So you have to sneak past high level enemies which can one-shot you almost. It's just a clusterfuck in my opinion, and it's not good, it's bad. Sure, that's an unpopular opinion because for some reason people think difficulty equals good content, but it doesn't in reality. It just makes people toxic and it makes them unpleasant to be around. As you can expect, that's me. So what else is there to say? It delays you earning rewards. I remember doing a fate before unlocking the Kel system. The Kel system is awful. So you get protein crystals, you fill the bowl by killing enemies or doing notorious monsters. Notorious monsters being the best fate, or way to get them rather. And here's the next bad thing. There's no information about it. So if you want to know what does the best in terms of filling it, like whether it's farming in groups or farming enemies rather than normal enemies or actual boss enemies, you won't find that info. Essentially it's a big fuck you from the Final Fantasy community. You've got everything else to do with Eureka, but you haven't got that. So yeah, like nobody's figured it out. I don't know if that's because you can't figure it out or if it's just bad game design. I think it's the latter. If you can't really figure it out, then what's the point? It's just ridiculous. So I don't even know how good or bad the grind gets later. Like, I'm supposed to be getting the Kel filled now. Technically speaking, it's almost like every 10 mobs that you get it. And that's like what, 9th one. You should be getting it filled a bit, but it just doesn't always fill and it sucks. But the worst thing is you have to farm about 36 of these, if I counted it correctly. 15 plus 16, 5, 10, 16, yeah. Which is an issue, because that means it's extra grindy. We've got 10 for more, still nothing. I don't like that. Unlocking the Aetherite is a bit of a pain too, in areas. I think the worst one was this one. I didn't die, but I managed to follow a group through. I managed to make it there without tagging any mobs, which is good. And then trying to find the fucking forge to make the crystals was ridiculous. I tried to find the info and it was impossible. Like, no way to fucking locate it. So I was just stuck there, I didn't know what I was doing. What sucks about this is I'm probably going to spend most of my game time here now. There you go, Kel filmed. But I don't want to spend it playing this, is the problem. I'm going to have to, because there ain't any other option for getting this done quickly. I'm about to die because the game doesn't do fucking healing properly, which is another issue in this. This is why I play tank in the end, because dying is too risky and too much XP at stake. It just sucks, and that's the thing, like, you shouldn't be punished for dying. It's gonna fucking happen here. So, obvious thing here, don't make you lose XP when you die. Simple solution. Easy fix. Everyone's happy. No, instead you incentivize like crappy play, lazy play, like tanking and stuff. That's why you get so many tanks here anyway. But that's why. The players are fed up with dying, and even then, you can still die in these fates. that are not even that soloable. And the reason I don't group anything up anymore is because of that. There's no point. It would have been a viable option in some areas, but here it's not. It's too risky. You still die too quickly. There's not really any point in that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm not really sure what to add, but so far the grind has not been great. I did join a group this morning, and we found this crab one over here, and I got XP for it. We found some later, and I didn't get anything. So I don't know what the requirement is for XP. It just doesn't seem to add up. And I was finding it so low when they're doing something out of my level range. It's even like 5 levels. It's like the criteria. And I wasn't getting all the XP for some reason. I was only getting like 1,000 when I'd usually get, as you can see here, about 15,000. So it's either a bug or the game's just really stupidly designed in that aspect. Well, if I'm a player in a group that's over leveled, how am I supposed to get XP? It's sort of the obvious question that you need to ask here. And they've obviously not provided a solution, hence why it's a problem. You can see where this goes wrong. I spent about 3 or 4 hours last night farming XP on tank and also doing Vids. Let's get this sort of thing done. Pull another. Why is this one pull? Fuck off. So buttons don't work again, which is weird. Fucking shut up out there. Yeah. It's not a good experience in all honesty. Just so many things are not well designed here. Should go without saying, but it needs to be said. People don't realise it, and no, not very smart. And the lockboxes aren't great here. They're less frequent, which is good. But no really rewards from what I can tell. So I don't know if it's even worth like farming or keeping them. Also the bunnies, I don't know what the fuck they're for. I did it once because they kept leading me into a high level area which I couldn't go through because I'll die instantly, even as a tank. Just had to go like far north and I can't. It's like level 31 mobs there and I was level 20. So no, it's not well designed again. And then I did find one and it took me over here, in another deadly place. So I tried that, got a materia for it. Not worth it. That's a fucking joke. What a stupid farm. And yet people farm it, and that's the thing. Somebody's obviously done it here. But I don't know why they do it. Like, it doesn't yield any cattle. I tried it. It doesn't yield any Anemos, or not Anemos, Pagos crystals, anything like that. Whatever these are. Yeah, Pagos crystal. Yeah, that's what they're called. Just not well designed, that has to be said. Just consistently bad. And if I was deciding, obviously, I'd make a lot of these corrections. Make it so it's actually fun, actually worthwhile to grind. Offer more than just waste giving. Just the most obvious solution here. Yeah, I don't really know what to add, but it's really that, I think, what's done levelling here. It is really punishing as well. I find this a bit stupid as well. It's fun, but not well designed. You can just die like trying to get to the crystal forge because for some reason there are about 3 or 4 secret locations here which are only accessible by dropping off a cliff. Yes. So they've done 2 things here which are very sort of anti-cliche, I don't know what the term is, or unorthodox. There's like one here, there's one there as well, I can see it. Didn't realise that before. when you get to the boss. I know that because it's a tracker. Yeah, there's like different things here that kind of make it a bit weird and a bit unorthodox. But then you've got the caves here. Basically, there's one drop, and then you go to two different routes, I believe. And they've got a cave here, and then there's a crystal forge in there. So yeah, it's not good, as I said. It is pretty yikes, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just major yikes. I need to go back, I might as well TP. That's my thoughts on Pagos so far. Just a sloppy experience, that's all I can describe it as. I don't even know what this is for. It doesn't make sense. And you don't get any upgrades, which is annoying. Because it feels like you should be able to get upgrades now. This thing, right here. Anyway, I better move on. That's that. Why did I take a silent stance on politics recently? Something that people might be wondering. It shouldn't need to be answered, to be honest. Because it's quite obvious. It literally just seems like there's so many problems in the world that politics is such a stupid thing to even put your mind on or just believe in. It's also quite doomeristic in that sense. And it's quite frustrating, really. Because whenever you get into it, it's often two-sided. You've got the left versus the right. Sometimes there are people in the middle, but it's very rare. And even then, the people in the middle can always be wrong. It's always the case. Sometimes, not always the case, I mean, sometimes the case. I think my main issue with politics is, at least now, it's becoming a case where people are ignoring the wrong people, which is a bad sign. Like literally, and these people, evil people, or not wrong people, but evil people like Trump or Putin or Netanyahu are just running these countries so poorly, so dangerously, it ends up backfiring. And the reason that happens is because, well, the world is like that. It happens. Like, there is this unfortunate effect where it just backfires. And it happens because people choose ignorance over every fucking thing else. And it sucks because, you know, that means people get affected by it. Yeah, there isn't really many solutions in that sense, because it's who you vote for in the end, but who you vote for can be quite harmful, can be quite detrimental in the long run. And it's been so inherently true over the past few years. We'll see it in the UK at some point, because at the moment America's going through it, but when the right are often faced with voting for who they believe is correct and who will fall through with supposedly their beliefs, it ends up backfiring on them because guess what? It doesn't align with your beliefs. And when you look into it, when you realise the type of person it is, you can see a big problem there. You know, it depends on what you believe in, but I guarantee you anything that you agree with Trump on, it's going to backfire in 100 different other ways. So for every one there is, there's probably another 10 bad things. And that can even be true for people who are left-leaning to an extent. Admittedly, it's less common, but it happens. And it fucking sucks. It's so frustrating. It is that obvious, that's the thing. People make it out that it's maybe a a minor issue, especially if you vote for the wrong person, but at the end of the day it's quite detrimental. There are so many problems that arise from voting the wrong party. At least in the UK, it does seem to be a consistent problem. We've never had a single party that's ever been any good, even the ones that are supposed to be, like Labour. They've turned their back on us a few times, it seems. This apparently wasn't the first rodeo, because I'm pretty sure I remember one from 2000s where that was an issue. Yeah, like, literally fucking, it's everywhere. In the US you have far fewer options, which again is demonstration that the two-party system as well is just broken. You need multiple. I think one of the best things that can happen to America is probably having the multiple parties, and I don't know if this is true, could be wrong, but I think that is somewhat crucial. You do need that, because at the end of the day, you may not actually have much of a chance. And the parties who are in the right should be able to demonstrate themselves. If people choose to ignore that, that's their problem. It's like when people ignored the fact that having Trump for a second term would be detrimental, and proved it. People ignored us. There was that whole, I forgot if it's a manifesto or, I really can't remember, but there was something released, like the administration released a big thing about the plans, like Project 2025, how's it? I remember now. People ignored everything in that. Nobody read it, except for the people who actually were worried. And they found out it's very bad for the economy, it's very bad for the system. And I'm pretty sure it exposed Trump as an oligarch, if I'm not mistaken, so why did people then ignore it? Because people believed that these little things he was saying, that he made up in his head, were objectively true. And it just wasn't. He promised some states that he would lower the price of everything. What happened instead? The prices increased. He stopped the tariffs from happening, he stopped like basic things. He stopped free meals for people with that thing, I forgot what it's called, my bad. But there's like a free meal sort of a ticket system I think you can have. And yeah, look, what more needs to be said? This is atrocious. And this is why I just don't get into politics anymore. And then recently, as I was getting to, we have this issue with Iran, with the US going to the war with them. Why? They just bombed Venezuela, they just harassed them and kidnapped the president. Look, are you kidding me? And then they're going to war with fucking Iran. And that is ridiculous. Like, you can't say that isn't corrupt, because if you look at the state of America, you see all the issues around it. You'll see very much that nothing is okay. You see that clear as day. And yet they're choosing to put their resources where it doesn't matter, which is the Iran situation. Even though there wasn't anything supposedly wrong with them in the first place to even warrant this. And it seems to be a case where maybe it's to do with something behind the scenes, like an oil company, for example. That could be the case, very much so, that's causing these problems. And that's maybe why he's actually looking to go to war with them. It's because of oil companies in the background. So yeah, I'm just incredibly frustrated with this. But that's why I don't speak on it. Again, I've warned people, I've said all I can. And in return I get called what? Woke? Like, you think I fucking care? like, it's the state of the planet here. That's what's at stake here. And you're just going to these childish places giving me unreasonable labels, ones that don't even mean anything. It's unreasonable. And you're sacrificing the planet just for that? Fucking kidding me? I don't know. When it's 2045, whatever year it will be, and we have water droughts, we have severe weather warnings constantly, don't go complaining at me. That's all I'll say. So yeah, that's why I don't get into politics. Fucking grow up or get fucked. That's my advice. So I've got some interesting topics lined up. I've finally written them down. Not the ones I remembered, which is annoying. So instruments I wanted to learn. I'm not sure if I talked about this before, but I'll try to make it brief. I wanted to learn different instruments as I sort of grew up because I wasn't a music person. And then I sort of got into piano in school, and I tried like trumpet briefly. I fucking hated the reed stuff. Like the fact you have to put them in a bowl of water at the end to be washed. It's like, ugh. I don't even want to fucking touch that after that. Weirdly enough, it's probably where my OCD started and my anxiety, which ironically I have. So yeah, it's very interesting. I think there are certainly things I wanted to learn then, but it wasn't exactly the same as everything else. It's very strange. So of course I wanted to learn something at some point, but I ended up with guitar in the end, and I'll explain the sort of ways I got there. One of my biggest sort of inspirations to picking up guitar actually was waiting outside a sort of counselling room in college because sort of having behavioural issues, which is the first time I've ever fucking had that, I think anyway. It's so bizarre. I had behavioural issues just across the board, as like in every class. I just wasn't focusing. Yeah, it's just so many things were going on there, so I didn't really pay attention much and got in trouble for it at one point, waiting for the person to talk to. And I think it's about getting my teaching assistant moved because I didn't need her in college. Yeah, one of the biggest things for me that triggered me getting a guitar was mostly being into Sonic Adventure with that amazing soundtrack, learning the song The Air, and also hearing someone in college play For Whom the Bell Tolls on guitar, like pretty much perfectly. Looking back on it, it wasn't, but that's another thing entirely. But still really impressive. It definitely inspired me. I found it quite fascinating, and that really sparked my interest in guitar. So I was so confused. In this match, I was a bit confused. If we're going for that one, yeah, it's weird. But it's just an experience, and that really inspired me. I think for that, was there anything I wanted to learn for that? Like, I'm not sure. It's very bizarre. Strange things in that. But eventually on that base, and kind of got there at some point. Bass was quite interesting. It's quite fun in an aspect as well. But that'll only later. But let me lead into me becoming semi-decent at guitar, I'd say. I'm not perfect at it at all. And realising that, oh shit, I really want to learn these other instruments now, so maybe I need to pick them up as well. And well, I haven't. long story short, but it took time to realise what I wanted to play. First, I think it was inspiration by 80s and 90s music, which I really enjoyed. It's usually like dance and Eurobeat tracks, and that was piano, or keyboard essentially, you can do both. Both work. And that was my inspiration for that. So that definitely helped things for certain. It was special to me because it was pretty much the instrument of my childhood. Even though it wasn't like the piano stuff that people sort of focus on in that sense, with well, in terms of something. Yeah, it's very interesting because I don't think there's many people really doing that sort of thing there. But piano was definitely one. But eventually, as I moved on, I got into more things, and one of the things I happened to want to get into was eventually violin. The reason why I wanted to start violin is because it sounds fucking amazing. I wasn't a symphonic person until about a few years ago, and then realising Dematoria was symphonic and also like all the keyboard stuff as well. I do kind of want to learn violin, and eventually I just realised, fuck it, anything goes really. I could learn anything I want to, and I think that's really interesting. I just wanted to be able to play all these instruments, like a jack of all trades, rather than master of none or one or whatever. I think that's a decent goal to have. So I don't think you should really have the focus of yeah. Oh fuck it, I'm getting distracted again. Yeah, the focus of one instrument is great and all, but you do have to put your resources into that. And it is interesting to do that, but even though you could do something impressive with it, I don't think it's necessarily the thing you should do. And in fact, I think composers anyway have to do all this to begin with. They have to put their toes into many different, at least composers of soundtracks, but dip their toes into any aspect, any genre. It's just, that's the interesting thing. Because you have to learn those things, and you have to take tasks as they come. Figure out what these exact tasks are. Because sometimes you have to do something jazzy, sometimes you have to do something with a pretty much ensemble beat or something. It really depends. You could even have to do something like house beats, which depends on the game. But having seen Suken in Final Fantasy XIV, yeah, it's pretty much something you can and probably will do anyway. So it's important to have your focuses on different genres in general. That's really where it counts, I think, in my opinion anyway. That's why it's all nice. But it's not easy for sure, as we said. Big struggle there. It's going to be learning every single fucking instrument you can. But yeah. What else is there even? Because as I said, it's like I wouldn't mind learning anything. For me, it just is anything goes, and that works for me. It definitely works in that sense. And that also just opens your mind to anything. As I said, and you may even find things that you didn't even realise you liked. It's always a possibility. So that adds an element to it, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what else to add here really. But I love the music spawns, I think, a love for the instruments, and it definitely matters whether or not you learn an instrument, and I think it's a beneficial thing as well. I think one of the things that people can forget or even not realise in terms of this is instruments also can provide you mental health benefits. You can focus your mind away from things you can do yourself in music. You can discover music, or literally make things of your own, or even just learn chords of an existing track. It really depends. That's what they're there for, and even something like percussion has its own niche, which is a atonal instrument, for anyone who didn't know. And that's what puts a bit much of a thing together. And then you've got to figure out melodies, you've got to figure out key changes and compositions. There's so many elements to each instrument. And you can sort of learn both. That's what I've been doing. Given that my next instrument will be a keyboard, which I will get at some point, I don't know when. It's sort of hard to say, especially with the financial situations we're in at the moment. And then I've got to prioritise other things, which sucks, and also got to keep a safety net, which is another big fucking frustration. So I've got to look out for the safety net of my PC fucking dying, which it could do. I'm not going to say it's healthy, but it definitely isn't. But yeah, it's interesting though. Anyway, I think that's all I got, so I'll move on to this topic and move to the other. The next thing is likely something I've already talked about, but very much true. Yeah, beliefs are all forced, if you haven't figured it out yet. A lot of people don't seem to be able to figure it out, which is weird to me, because I thought this was a pretty obvious thing. Ever since I realised it anyway, I've been like, god damn it. Facepalm and jack off a bit more. But that's the problem. It's sometimes the obvious things that just get swept under the rug and forgotten as a result of just media bias or conflict of interest or just many different things here. It could be anything that's causing it. But every belief is forced, believe it or not. And that even is forced, fuck's sake. I didn't even realise that, but yeah, that's true as well. So, it's like when someone says, don't nod. That is a belief. You're forcing the belief on someone. And we do force it on people. For a good reason. It's immoral. But then we do things where, I don't know, sometimes there's mention of something. I don't know. I like tofu, for example. I really like tofu. But that's my belief, that's my preference, admittedly. I wonder if there is much difference between belief. Well, there is, yeah. I think one's more natural. It's like, if I believe that tofu is a really great tasting food, that's a belief. And again, I'm forcing that out there, it's out in the open, it's being forced on innocent people. Because somehow it's a sin. But yeah, it's like, that's a thing, that's a belief, so you have to get used to it, essentially. There's no valid reason that this is wrong, somehow. But frankly, it's ridiculous that you can't have these beliefs, and I'm just weirded out by the very fact. How else to explain this? Morals are subjective, sorry. Stuttering a lot. It's very strange, really, the idea of beliefs, and it's also a social construct, which, if you can wrap your head around that, props to you, because you've done research or thinking, and you can understand that. So yeah, it's very interesting though. I don't really know what to add here really. I guess I can list some examples, like when people say vegans should stop forcing their beliefs on others, even as a non-vegan myself. I think this opinion is stupid. Not the vegans, the people saying it's being forced, because it's like any other opinion, you fucking idiots. It's exactly like that. It's like even when you say like, well, you know, people should be eating meat or should be eating dairy, like what? It's a fucking opinion, that's a belief. Something you believe, you convince yourself of. Much like vegans have. And the only thing that matters here is whether you can suss out whether the vegan belief is correct or not. That's the big point. That's why you should fucking care. That's where it counts, for that matter. So whether you can refute the opinions or not, same goes for vegans as well. Believe it or not, I've seen failed arguments about that. It is very much true. This cannot be ignored. That's why it's important. That's why you pay attention to this shit. To make sure you get it right. Yeah, I don't really know what to add here, but that's really the gist of it. But the other thing, I suppose, it's like right versus left. Again, it's like your own belief, whether you believe something about the side of politics or not. And there's another case where it just happens, and it is all false. The moment these words come out of your mouth or even mentioned, they're already forced, and you can't change that. There's no such thing as a false belief or shoving it down someone's throat. It's always been done. It's always fucking happened. So people need to get their shit together. Start acting like grown adults and start thinking about this. It's absolutely fucking crazy to me that nobody just pays attention to this shit. It's just fucking bad. Yeah. I just can't believe that. Anyway, I think I want to move on because I've got stuff to do. Yeah, I'm not sure, but anyway. Yeah, I'll move on. So the next thing we'll talk about, which I failed to talk about previously, but I've finally put my thoughts together, is how's lifestyle changed my my mood on things. And it's sort of hard to say, but I think to an extent it has, but also hasn't. It's really confusing in that sense. I find that lifestyle is a very interesting thing because it involves exercise or routine, it's like that. And with my change, it's like doing more exercise. I managed to be out for a walk about 4 times this week, which is new. I've never achieved that before. But I also meant to do weights today and I forgot, which is my bad. But you certainly get these things, and you know, people say it helps your mood and your stress, but in my opinion it doesn't all that much, and it really proved itself last night when I couldn't really finish or get off. It's just so many fucking frustrating things with that. Yeah, it's so weird, but it happens. But does exercise and all that help, or doesn't it? It's a question that I'm asking myself, and it's hard to say. I will say that my mood is sort of improved in a way, but also not. It really varies. Like, I still get moments where I'm burnt out and stressed out. So I've had it earlier. I remember being able to ignore things at one point, and then just not being able to. But yeah, like, it depends. I think it can help. So yeah, exercise, I'm doing the treadmill if I don't do walking outside, and I do. What else is it? I also do weights. And other thing I've done recently, which I forgot to mention almost. I've cut my intake of sweet things and chocolate. Admittedly, I can't do the morning ones because it's for my breakfast, and it's the only way I can tolerate it without being sick. Yeah, I have a slight ARFID, I think it's called, avoidant retaliation food interlescent disorder. No, it's not interlescent, but something like that. Similar. But it's very strange in that sense, and I don't really know the best solution exactly. Yeah. So I felt happier for the most part, but I haven't in other ways either. It's weird, it's sort of a weird duality. I get both in a sense. I feel happier and more cheerful in one way, but also I'm about the same. And one of the worst things to come with this lifestyle change, NSFW here warning, I do appear to have gotten hornier. Weird fucking way. It's kind of strange. Yeah, I have literally gotten hornier in a lot of ways. It's so strange. Because I don't even know how to control that sort of thing. It's literally uncontrollable in terms of like autism, and it comes with its own complications because naturally autism is not easy enough. It's just yeah. What else to add? Is there anything else like food? I've been trying to be healthier. I've cut down like portions properly this time. I was doing it before, but it wasn't very good. I managed to sort of normalise it now, and we've managed to balance things out a bit. I still have mostly the same food, it's just less of something else in the healthier portion. I'm also just not avoiding foods if it's like an unusual mix. I literally had an Indian and Chinese thing together today. Had vegetable fritters with what is it, golden rice and barbecue no pork. It's very interesting. Yeah. Just I don't really know what to add here. But in terms of lifestyle, do I feel better for it? To be honest, it didn't make much of a difference, but I will say having the highs of being able to look forward to things and see enjoy bits of life anyway, which possibly I'll, as a result of this, it's quite good, and also being able to motivate myself and look forward to using like the treadmill, it's like it certainly helps. And I've got here in front of me a games controller that will essentially help me to get on the treadmill and play games, on my phone. I've got a Pokemon, is it Platinum, yeah. I've got that on there somehow. Magic. No, there's a Switch, who knows. But that's a thing. Yeah, that's how I sort of manage it. That's how I do that. Yeah, I don't really know what to add, but that's sort of just a bit. Fuck it, this is insane. Yeah. So I'm getting distracted here really badly. Yeah, that's very weird, but that's the sort of scenario anyway. But lifestyle, it doesn't make too much difference, but it does help in other ways, it has to be said. But I think it's worth trying, that's the thing. I'm very easy to dismiss things, but trying not to do that, and I'm trying not to also expect a solution just like that. That's not really worth it. Yeah. That's all I have, I think. So I'll to move on. So yeah. Once again, another disappointing situation, it seems. With, well, fucking Reddit again. I saw this from Dolan Dankist, Darkest, I can't remember his last name, their last name. But it's about a Reddit situation with Helldivers, and apparently players were challenging the developers to beat the game on difficulty 10 with a specific loadout, and if they did, they donate $1,000 to a charity of their choice. But immediately it's sort of like, I thought this was kind of innocent to begin with, I'll be honest. But I suppose I need to think on it more, because obviously it's not, given this Reddit situation, which kind of sucks. I just need to know whether it is a good thing to do or not, and I'm sort of being led to believe it's not. But yeah, there are two users who did this, and it basically sparked a whole fucking drama in a way, and I'm not going to actually report on basically what's happening, but rather I'm going to address something indirectly here. Basically, every time like people are just fucking crazy and they go on the internet, they create this shit where they send death threats to people and they even dox them. And this keeps happening. And people might wonder, like, why does it keep happening? It's because people give the attention to it. That's why. It's always what fucking happens. In my time being on the internet, the amount of times that, unreported attacks like this have happened, like at least unpublicised rather than not unreported but unpublicised, and it's not in the public eye, there's never been an issue. That's not because we're not paying attention to it, it's because these people haven't got the attention that they want. Because the response isn't going to be the same as us in a civilised society. It's even like tying into something crazier like paedophiles and groomers, where anything you say that's threatening towards them is not going to change anything. And even pointing out something like, oh, well, this is basically wrong. Like, that's not going to change anything at all. It's just fucking crazy, but it just doesn't. And that's just been a real test of time in that sense, because that's just how it works. So I got distracted again, mine just blanked. Yeah, anyway. I just have to point out that for as long as this has been going on, the attention towards it's gotten worse, and it makes me wonder how corruptible people are, because at this point, the people who report on this stuff are as corrupted, as the people that report on it. I mean, as the people do, I mean. I really get mixed up there. You can't be reporting all this shit all the time every time it fucking happens. Jesus Christ. I really don't get it. This public shaming thing doesn't work. It's obvious. The only way I could see it actually working is if, well, you turn the tables essentially. Turn whatever they're doing on the user itself, if even as a real user or not. And the other thing is either like showing them back or just ignoring them. I think even if you are doxxed, it's kind of like you don't respond, you don't say anything. I think even in a rare situation where you're compromised in some way, like technologically, you never give the fucking attention that they want. That's always the wrong thing to do. sort of seen it on like Cybersecurity channel, for example, where there's cases of malware, and the absolute worst thing you could do, as I think they've said anyway, is to actually pay the malware or pay the ransomware. That's just not the way to go about it, because that gives them what they want, and you give them satisfaction. So it doesn't solve anything, and they know it's profitable, so that's why they do it. But you could actually have the luxury of essentially getting rid of the ransomware and not giving them anything. So it's not even an impossible task in that sense. So it's like that's doable and beneficial for that matter. But I think it's more about the beneficial side than anything else. What else do I even add here? I think some of this is very obvious, but we really do not need to give the attention to these people any more than we already do. Hence why I brought up the Reddit situation there. Because yeah, I'll say the story outright then, but there was doxing, there was death threats, there was developers speaking out finally about that. And essentially this just made me realise that this always happens, this keeps happening. And yeah, it's because people are so fucking sour about the game that they're corrupted by it, their own greed, want to see things stay the way they are. And they just like strive off of making other people suffer. Which you can expect, they wouldn't care if they were suffering as well. And it changes depending on the situation. Yeah, again, it takes drastic measures to do that, but at the same time, it's like you can't do much else. So giving them the attention is not the way to go about this. Yes, the situation is insane, but reporting on it is probably the worst fucking thing you can do. See it time and time again, and it never changes. This dates back to even like the Counter-Strike days, where people give the attention that another wants for some evil fucking thing, or something that's just not right. And then they just turn around, go to your door and shoot you. It's one of the stories I remember from that. But that's how out of hand it gets. But you don't give the attention, you don't go public with this shit, because that's what they want. Again, I think the more they can get away with it, the more desirable it becomes for them. So I think if they weren't getting away with it, if they weren't being publicised, they don't give a shit. Ironically, it's always with the passing of information that this stuff seems to get worse. And for all I know, it could have just been happening all these years, and it just wasn't reported, and that's further to my point. And it wouldn't surprise me if there was an actual increase accounting for actual scenarios where this happened, where it wasn't publicised. Because it does fucking happen. And avoiding it is not really possible. Preventable, maybe, but again, take into account the advice. There's 3 different ways you could go about it: turn it on them, be like them, or well, not be like them, is it towards innocent people, but just towards them specifically, but also ignore them. Like very simple solutions. I've employed these tactics myself, even on my channel. Like if I go to fucking comments, I haven't looked at it in a while. I've had really suggestive comments that are suggestive. Not like proper spam like you would expect, but it's something. What I need to learn is me. Fuck off. That's stupid. What is it asking? I'm logged in, aren't I? Very fucking strange YouTube. That's not helping. So that's been my window. Get unresponded. Respondents. The nothing there, so let's look at held. Well, no. Obviously it doesn't show like unpublished ones. I don't know why. I feel like it should, because that's kind of the point. I can't see it. Okay, that's weird. There was some points here and there. There was one about me being queer or something like that. Just whether you can see the comment, because it removed it for some reason because I used the word fag to describe myself. But you know, they don't expect that. That's the point. Let's go into the video itself. There's no response. But that's the thing. That's what they want. They want either the attention or the result. And yeah, it's either of those things. It takes something to figure out for sure. But that's what it often comes down to. That's why it's so important to not handle this with care, but rather handle it with carefree attitudes, as we should be with most things anyway. Because again, this is the shit they crave. That's why it won't fucking go away. They know they get the attention, that's when it counts. So, it's something to remember. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to add, but I felt this is somewhat important. Because I felt like this topic is really annoying to see. Every time it comes in my feed, like, fuck off. You're giving these people attention, I don't care how big you are of a channel, you're fucking, like, you're worse than them for fucking giving them the attention, so just keep that in mind next time you do that. So, there has been that recent news of, Bungie asking for, reviews not to be posted about Marathon because they're going to wait for the update, which is just, what the fuck? This is where we are now in the gaming industry. I find it very bizarre, in my opinion, and it's not a good thing at all. I just think it's very discouraging. Yeah. Anyway, I just got distracted. It basically been asking about that, and again, it's not good news. In all honesty, yeah, I think it's bad. It's just a bad outlook, and it's bad for gaming in general. This isn't a standard we should be setting or assigning ourselves, because in the end, it's a big problem. Because when games release, you're supposed to be releasing them and reviewing them based on what they release as. And this is important for games because guess what? They don't always deserve second shots. It's pretty much obvious. You know, if we suddenly were to say that you can't review, I don't know, an old game like Agents of Mayhem, which came out about 10 years ago now, didn't it? It'd be stupid to do that because, well, we need to know if the game is good or not. For people who just found out it's out, people who've been looking forward to it, like I technically was to an extent, even though there was nothing on it, and it turned out to be utter garbage. I have like a handful of decent bits of gameplay and fun, like cutscenes and stuff, but yeah, it's very strange. I don't know. That's the thing, if they were to update it and make it better, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good game. Because it really varies. You know, just because it's it's not live service actually, that's the weird thing. you know, it doesn't mean it's going to be good. Either way. It's just a strange scenario. And, you know, these games are bad for a reason. It's because they went through over the or they just weren't very interesting, or just failed to meet them, or make a mark, or meet it, or whatever. It really varies. And that's why it does somewhat matter. That's why reviews are important in that case, because without this insight, without the review, you don't get an idea of what the game is about. As in, the game has to be about something regarding, well, you guessed it, the contents as of the review date. And you need that so you can figure out whether you want to buy it or make an informed decision. Whereas people might buy something like Marathon, which is the current story, and will think like, well, I'm going to buy it because I ain't got nothing else to play and I want another extraction shooter that isn't Arc Raiders or Escape from Tarkov or even that other one, what was it? Is it Bird one? I can't remember. It's something like that. It's like an animal-based extraction shooter, which is kind of funny. Did like the irony on that. You know, that's the thing. It's bad, and it doesn't give you an idea of what the game is like. And you have to rely on like public reviews, which honestly I prefer over just review companies now, because review companies are garbage. They either suck at games or they don't know what a game is. That's often the two things that they fall into. And even then, when they do know a game, it's not always the best thing, and doesn't always give an insight. My problem with reviews is they assign an arbitrary number to it, which isn't, in my opinion, the biggest thing to look out for. I think what people should be doing more is doing a Control F, looking at the experiences, looking for keywords like live service or microtransactions or transactions, all those sorts of things, and even like performance issues or graphics, anything like that. It really depends, and that's why it's so important. That's why we need early reviews. And having these public reviews as well is what gives that context. It does help to have these public reviews, and that's what we should rely on here, to be honest, not reviewers like IGN or whatever. Yeah, it's just a follow-up of issues and stuff. Trying to think what else is there. Okay. Yeah, so it's very interesting. But we shouldn't be allowing this shit, as I said. It's bad for the games industry, and remember a few examples of where this actually happened, where a game started out shit and then it got better. No Man's Sky. And there are other games that weren't so successful. No Man's Sky took years to get better, and it still didn't even have, even now it still doesn't have a lot of the things it promised. Doesn't mean it's a bad game now, but it meant when it released it was a joke. And at least the developers were committed and made it better. Credit due. But it's still not the most optimal thing to get, and it sucks. This shouldn't be the standard. We shouldn't be releasing games for, well, nothing really. You might want the funding from it, but then you can expect people to want refunds because the games that they bought are not playable or they suck. It's just really bad. Yeah, I don't really know what to add there. Obviously, we need a solution to this, I guess. It's not a thing to note. Because we obviously can't rely on this shit much more than we already do. this is the thing as well. Like today, this day and age, we shouldn't be having this. This is the other thing. Why the fuck are we relying on famous reviewers or review companies to get our info to know whether we like a game or not, when we should really be looking at, again, the experience or the gameplay of other content creators, various different things like that. You should be doing research on this, not look at a review number. I did that before. I used to look at review numbers and it really flipped my perspective when I realised, oh, actually this game is one of the worst games I've ever played, and it's a 10 out of 10 by most review companies. Like, honestly, that's a stupid review number, because I don't think a 10 out of 10 even exists, realistically speaking, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just like constant disappointment in terms of that. Well, it ain't that simple, which sucks, but yeah, that's sort of what needs to happen, I think. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to add, but shit. I'll work with the dragon. Oh well. Yeah, it's weird. But that's the sort of scenario we're in here. It's not a pleasant one, for sure, but that's sort of it. We should be having a standard where games are released finished and complete, and it shouldn't be wait a few months for it to get better. This reminds me of Cyberpunk a lot, because Cyberpunk had so many issues on launch that it was just impossible to ignore. And it was so bad that it impacted not only reviews but just people's perspective of the game and CD Projekt Red for that matter. So yeah, it had an impact for sure. Very strange though. Trying to think, what's losing my thing here, bro. Yeah. So, what else is there even to say? I suppose this is like reviewing a product in a way, like in real life. Like for example, this creates a standard where it's bad for you in real life. It's like if you release a pair of headphones that may be very good in the long run, but in reality, the biggest problem is they'll might just stop working after a while, just why they suggest reviewing it early. Maybe in that case, the opposite happened to you, or they may even just have a firmware update that just fucking blocks it, and you need to pay a subscription to use them, which is just again absurd, and that's possible in this day and age, unfortunately. But this does happen. It sucks, but it does really happen. It's not a pleasant thing, as I said. It's genuinely bad. It's not good for anything. It just stops happening, which it already has anyway. You know, smart fridges, I'm pretty sure, have like subscription services now. I'll never get a smart fridge. Also, there's no reason to. It's fucking stupid. Like, what the hell's the point? Unless you could put like TV on it. There's no reason. Like TV while you're cooking. What a fucking waste, though. And this is the thing, these products become useless as well. When they just start sucking like that, they just, yeah, release bad and then never get better. It sucks, but that's the thing that happens. So yeah, I don't really know what to add here, but that's the gist of it anyway. It's just, it's not a good thing to say anyway. It's precedence. I keep forgetting that term. It's not a good precedent set, so also we need to be aware of that too. Is when companies start to realise, oh, games get away with it. Well, yeah, they might. But the thing is, games are like temporary to an extent. They're not physical mediums. so they won't always have that issue or proper thing where they actually turn out good in the end. And products like headphones, they can't physically improve that, and yet they might still try to attempt to do something on this in real life because it's just what they do. I mean, again, shouldn't be incentivizing that. Oh shit, it spawned. Yeah, it's a very bad scenario, regardless. So yeah, I'm not sure what to add, but that's the story. So yeah, let's move on. So about Pagos or Pagos or Pagos, whatever you fucking call that at this point. You know, there's an interesting thing here. In that it's improved as I've gone to the end game. I remember getting to level 32, joining a group, and then leveling up in seconds. And you know, it was decent. It sort of was a viable thing, I guess, happening. Yeah, you could actually see like the end game in sight. Whilst I haven't handed in my weapons, because I've still got loose ice and the old weapon there. Yeah, it's still something, and it's definitely improved at the end again, which is not an ideal way to have it, in my opinion. I think this is honestly a little stupid, obviously in terms of game design. This part of it just doesn't really work, and yeah, it sort of fails as a result. And I feel like there's again a lot to improve, a lot that needs to change here to make it better. So it gets me thinking about what things I still struggle with in this. I think the Pagos crystal grind is awful here. You know, unlike like a Anemos where you can actually literally farm out protein crystals with Anemos crystals there. So not very fucking good. Compared to that, the Anemos crystal grind, I literally went on last night to get my red mage weapon because I hadn't thought about getting it at first, but then I suddenly wanted it. And okay, makes sense. So yeah, what ended up happening is I grinded it out for 2 hours, so got the weapon and the Pazuzu feathers with just the Anemos crystals I collected, and I got lucky on my drops because I got like 200 protein crystals, and I had a bunch from before as well, so that helped things. Yeah, I literally got it in seconds. Seconds per minutes. It's interesting. So yeah. Hang on. I have to say. Yeah. So yeah, anyway. Where was I? The Pagos crystals. I think there needs to be an increase to the drops. I think each fate needs to be increased by at least 30%. It should be more generous here. Because even doing a fate like Louis or Cassie, which Cassie is difficult because of the RNG of it, you know, the short breath thing, and not every player can dodge it for some reason. But yeah, there are sometimes struggles with that, and so the grind becomes quite insufferable in that sense, because now you have to farm fates of lower levels, you're not even getting XP, there's no benefit, you're not doing two things at once here, which is kind of the point of Eureka anyway, at least from what I can gather about it. And because you don't have that with Pagos crystals, you're not really getting any benefits, and the fact that these don't even drop from just ordinary mobs, even as a rare drop, is proof of that. And the kettle grind isn't even the issue at this point. In fact, you can let it film, and it just won't be a big problem. like the kettle just fills up in seconds, and it's honestly a bit embarrassing because it feels like it should just drop like normal things should. I really do not understand why. I think I just saved this guy. Yeah, saved him from death. Fucking hell. Oh god, I think I'm gonna die. I think I did, maybe? Okay, just got something interesting. You usually get insta-kills with that. Anyway. So yeah, interesting thing, I guess, but the kettle system is fine. I just hate having to run all the way to Crystal Forge. I wish it's more conveniently placed. Yeah. So, where were we? Trying to think. So kettle's good, decent anyway. I don't even know. Fuck, trying to do two things at once is pretty much impossible. Fuck, it's not coming to mind. I literally can't think. Yeah, the grind is not great. I think the frosted protein crystals are generally easier to get than the Anemos crystals, and then the Louis farm as well is not great because you only get 2 from each drop. I don't like that. What else? What else? I'm trying to think. Difficult to say. I wonder if getting these snow smelts actually spawns the thing from there. So it only spawns during fog, yeah. I guess it's like a weird strategy. Oh god. I don't know. Fuck's sake, it's distracted. Yeah, I think the resize needs to be increased. That's one thing for sure that needs to happen. I think a more passive farm for, you know, the crystals is definitely better. I do struggle with some of this because in a group at the moment and we're trying to organise up what to do. I think we're spawning a smoke smelt, what? A snow smelt sprite. Yeah, I'm spawning a snow smelt, I mean killing them. Because that seems to be something we could spawn. There's also another thing there I could do. Also I think someone's going for the worm as well, which is interesting. That's probably what that was over there. What else? I think travel can be a bit of an issue. I haven't died to the Void Dragon exactly. I did die here stupidly once, but it was just because I was leaving and I didn't really need the XP, so I took the loss. It's not really worth fussing over that shit, in all honesty. It's such a trivial thing compared to everything else. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know what's out there. What else is there to talk about? I guess the lockbox drops are not very notable. I haven't looked it up actually what drops, but there's nothing in that because I've got these on that. The over-expected cluster doesn't drop enough in my opinion. Not sure if it's maybe that it's just one drop you get over time, so you can't stack it. Speaking of which, I should say, shouldn't it? Total 1 out of, so no, it's just one time use, okay. Kind of handy. So what else is there to even talk about? I'm trying to think. I guess finding the elemental is a pain in this place because there's so many vertical and horizontal areas to go through where you could just spot it out in the other place. You can't really spot it here exactly. It kind of sucks in that sense. Just wish that you could see it more easily. Not really sure what else there is. I think that's it. I'm just gonna say that's it for now because I've got stuff to do and need to do artwork. Finish that up. Yeah, I think Eureka definitely has a way to go. Pagos, essentially. I think Anemos still has some other things that could improve. There's not really much else going on in this. So there's not really anything to talk about other than that. Weapons don't upgrade themselves, in my opinion anyway. There's some improvement that could be made, but it's decent enough. Anyway, let's move on. So it has to be said that... Oh, it's so fucking weird happening. What is my aspect anyway? It's just working away for whatever reason. Yeah, seems normal. Anyway. Yeah, I fucking detest this topic, and as usual, it bores me. It's from the inside out. Because it does that to me. Raises my blood pressure. Makes me really fucking pissed off, and I just get so fed up. Yeah, like, it's just so dumb. But I have to talk about it, but apparently there are considerations of using AI in assisted living, which is, as far as I'm aware, like the old home stuff, and yikes. It has to be said, it's just major yikes. And my problem with this is, well, there's quite a few issues, to be honest. Obviously AI is already a bad thing, but to trust AI with a person's life at this point in this stage of AI shenanigans is pretty much stupid. It's essentially suicide. And I can expect to see AI just trying to fold old people instead of folding their clothes and ironing them. And maybe even just ironing people. Like, that's something we're going to hear about. It sounds funny, but also it's kind of dark. But we're literally going to see a case where AI is replacing people who are doing these very much people jobs. They're supposed to be for people. And they're going to be killing innocent people and the elderly. So, whilst that might be good news for some, depending on who the elderly is, it's not optimal. And given that we will sort of trust the AIs to work on even looking after children, it's just extremely dangerous. There are so many ethical issues that can come of this. It shouldn't be ignored. But then the other thing is that we get lazy. Honestly, what is a job without its experience? A genuine question. Because what do you think is going to happen to your job? What do you think is going to happen when you no longer have the experience to do things? When no one has anything to share? No input to give? Well, it becomes a dull and boring fucking job. So suddenly you're in this scenario where nothing good is coming of it. So, yeah, like, nothing good is going to happen there. Like, Jesus Christ. I don't get why people want this, but then it ties into another topic that I've encountered recently. And I think it's especially sort of heartbreaking if you have people you are close to sending this to you, which is all my situation. I'm just being honest, but it just pains me when I get sent animal videos, and it's not actually an animal video, it's an AI video of animals. Like, fuck's sake. It pisses me off that people are making AI animal videos. I think it should be illegal, in my opinion, to make AI of realistic, well, people and animals, because that's obviously a ethical issue that for some reason hasn't been addressed by government, so they're in on it. They're also the pedos undressing children, so just putting it out there. They're responsible for this. But yeah, like, there's so many ethical issues with that. And it's just making me not enjoy them. I don't even know what to trust anymore, because there is nothing in that. There is nothing to enjoy. It's just lifeless AI, and you could tell by the way that everything is just standing there or just being something. It really depends on what it is. But it exists, and that's the problem. We wouldn't have many issues if it weren't for regulation of it, and proper regulation of that. Not just some, oh, well, we can't have porn, but we can have everything else, which is stupid because, yeah, you get any other thing. You get murder, you get framing, you get so many things like blackmail as well. So no doubt that's going to be a common thing we see in the future. My god, I'm so fucking tired of this. And it hurts because you don't get the genuine sense of curiosity when it comes to animals. Because with animals, it's a special thing with animals. They're unique. They're so different from us that we take joy in their innocence and their curiosities. So, essentially, we're missing out on the best part of animals by replacing them with AI, and then we get to this other thing, dystopian future, like the movie WALL-E. For anyone who's seen that, to repeat it rather. In WALL-E, everyone's lazy as fuck. They don't do their own jobs, and they don't even realise that they can. And then they realise they can, and they realise that she's kind of good. And so they go back to it in the end. So that's what happens. Everyone's bored. They find a problem, they find a solution, and yeah, and they get on with it. They repopulate Earth, essentially. Not repopulate, but, you know, remake it. And yeah, that's one of their jobs to do now. But that's a thing that's happening because it's all run by AI as well in the WALL-E universe. I think from what I can remember, I'm pretty sure it's AI. If it isn't, I'll be surprised. But AI is running the entire operation, and they don't really have any humanity in that sense, and it's humanity that are being completely, like, domesticated by the AI. It's all like custom to them, I guess, like, for lack of a correct term. Yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating. I don't know what to add, really. That's about it, in all honesty. But yeah, I better move on because I've got stuff to do, but I also have to make an outro. So actually, maybe not moving on, but ending the episode. But thanks for listening. I'll see everyone in the other episodes.